All right, moving on to our last speaker for our Compact's Perspectives part of the Legislative Summit. We have with us Rebecca Cole. So Dr. Rebecca Cole is a licensed professional counselor and a national certified counselor. She holds a PhD in counseling from Old Dominion University and a master's in education and school counseling from the College of William and Mary. Currently, Dr. Cole is a research associate professor at the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences in the Department of Military and Emergency Medicine, where she focuses on curriculum and assessment development. Before coming to that position, Dr. Cole served as the founding program director of the school's counseling program at Arkansas State University, where she developed 16 online counseling and mental health graduate education courses, including 2 courses focusing on suicide prevention and crisis intervention. Her research interests focus on promoting mental health and wellness within the military community and developing best practices for the counseling profession's work with this population. Dr. Cole has published over 35 peer-reviewed journal articles and has presented at over 20 international, national, and regional counseling and mental health conferences. So with that, we'd like to welcome Dr. Cole, and we have your presentation loaded up and ready.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca. I'm excited to talk to you today about military spouses. You want to go ahead and flip? I currently work at the Uniformed Services University, so we're a medical school for the military. Our students come here for med school, then they go to residency and head out to different operational environments all over the world. So I'm lucky to play a role in helping to make sure that they are ready to treat service members so we can bring them back home to their families. Next slide. This is a really important topic to me about military spouses because I am one. This is my husband. He's a service member. This is about 10 years ago. This is my daughter when she was a little baby, but this is one of my favorite pictures representing my family and why I'm passionate about mental health services for military families, and also a lot of my personal journey of being a military spouse and trying to have a career in the midst of that as a licensed professional counselor. I've lived in Virginia, Italy, Japan, California. Now I am back in Virginia in the Washington, D.C. area. So it has been quite an exciting adventure for me over the past 16 years of being a military spouse. Next slide, please. So as a federal employee employed by the federal government and Department of Defense, everything that I say today is my own opinion and assertion and is not that of the Uniformed Services University or the Department of Defense. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the military spouse lifestyle. We are constantly in transition. We could move to a new country tomorrow. My husband could get deployed at any second to anywhere in the world. A lot of unknowns. Not only can my husband get deployed, he's constantly switching jobs, so that leaves me into a little bit of unknown as far as childcare, taking care of my kids, as far as how often I can work, what kind of job I can have. In my experience, it's been very difficult applying for jobs because people can tell that I'm a military spouse and they're unsure of if I'm a good hire, if I'm going to be around for a long time, or if I'm going to move, 2 weeks from now. I don't know either. So that's what military spouses face when we are trying to work to build our careers. Next slide, please. Military spouses are really important in the military community because we know all about the military culture. We know the challenges that families face with deployments and constant transitions. We know what it's like to fear for the safety of our spouses, to not know where our spouses are in the world, or not being able to get in touch with them to know if they're okay. This puts a lot of stress on spouses and families, and the counseling community is really important in helping to alleviate those stressors and address the mental health issues of families. I did a study last year looking at military spouse suicide because we just found out that spouse suicide is a big issue just like it is for active duty service members and veterans. We just got new data that it's a problem in the spouse community as well. So this is something that's super important for the counseling community to be aware of and address. In my study, a lot of the participants said that switching mental health providers when they're moving around is a major cause of their stress, and they said that they think that might be causing this phenomenon of suicide within the military spouse community. They talked about how it's really hard if you find a counselor in your area and then you have to move 2 months later, and then you have to try to find one again. And then even if you do find one, it might not be one that you feel like you're connecting with. They said that this was a struggle for themselves and also for their children as well, to constantly have to find someone new for your child to talk to after they develop a relationship with a counselor, is really puts a lot of burden, not only on the parent, but the child as well. Next slide, please. So licensure portability would help the military community in a lot of ways. Number one, we have a lot of spouses who have counseling degrees. Spouses see problems firsthand, they know about them, and a lot of them then want to go and become counselors. The growth of online counseling programs has been great for military spouses because you could take classes when you're in Japan, all over the world, and you can get a counseling degree. Now the problem is when you're bouncing around, how are you going to maintain your license? But with licensure portability, that's not an issue anymore. You can get some career stability, which is something that's great for spouses, not only for their mental health, because they have a career, they have purpose, they have something they're invested in, but also then again, for them to be able to treat other members of the military community with consistency. So if my daughter is seeing a counselor virtually and that counselor is a military spouse and has to move to another state because their husband is transferred, my daughter can continue to see her with that licensure portability there. So it benefits not only spouses in their careers, but also families to have consistency in their providers. It's really important that we support military spouses as counselors because they are the experts on the military culture and lifestyle. So we know in the counseling relationship, it's so important to make that connection, and spouses know the language of military culture. They understand what the problems are. So if we can provide them with better access to the military population and vice versa, we can really get better treatment for service members and their families. And we all know that the better the mental health is for these service members and their families, the more readiness they are. So for example, if I'm a soldier deployed to the Middle East for whatever reason, and I know that my spouse at home is happy and well, I'm going to be less distracted when I have to do things that require my full attention. So if we take care of our families back home, our service members are better able to fight and do what they are asked to do as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so military spouses can benefit because they can keep their careers. These spouses can provide great care to the community, to the military community. The military community has more spouses who are counselors, and they have better access to counselors who are experts and their struggles and their challenges, so they're getting better care. We're enhancing long-term relationships with counselors and dependents and our clients that are going to benefit them long-term and create better mental health opportunities within the military community, and that creates more readiness for the military. Next slide, please. All right, any questions for me?
We have one question in the chat. I think just as a point of clarification, or saying you said Uniform Services University. Does this include officers in the Indian Health Service?
No, just the Army, Navy, Air Force, and yeah.
Dr. Cole, I had a question while others may be thinking of ones put in the chat or through raising their hand, but and this may be something that you've already identified, but just to highlight further, are there any primary misconceptions that you often hear from a military spouse and some of the challenges, maybe particular to that workforce mobility piece?
Could you repeat that again?
Yeah. Just would you? Is there anything you would like to highlight as far as common misconceptions that military spouses may face as it applies to their workforce mobility or anything else, any other challenges that you think there may be a misconception that is important to highlight?
I think other people perceive military spouses as being immobile. And I know with me, that's been a struggle as far as, a job interview or having gaps on my resume. So this would solve that issue and increase our mobility and our ability to get those jobs that we want, because we can take them with us when we move, when we go with our service members to their new duty station. I think that when spouses too feel like they can have a career, I got my graduate degree in counseling, and now I do have greater opportunities. That's going to be huge as far as morale for spouses, for mental health. And that is going to be great for the United States military if we have happy spouses, and spouses who can keep their jobs are going to support their service members to keep their jobs. So this increases retention in the military as well. Happy spouses who can move around a lot, they're going to be supportive of the service member to move around a lot. And that is what the United States military needs.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Cole. Any other questions for Rebecca? Yes, Tammy.
Carl, thanks so much for calling on me. This message is not specifically for Rebecca, but I just wanted to mention to everyone on the call that Rebecca's story is so important. I work for the Department of Defense, and I'm going to post the website where folks who are interested in engaging with us on this effort to support spouses like Rebecca with the counseling compact can reach out to us. So thank you for just giving me that little chance to make a plug, Carl.
Yes, of course. Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions?
I have a question for Professor Cole.
Yes, go ahead, Maria.
I'd like if she can talk a little bit about how does she see children of the military being supported when states join the counseling compact. I think she almost talked most of the time about adults in the family, but what about the children?
So children, the counseling relationship is so important with children. They, find this caring adult that they feel like they can trust and form a relationship with, where they can reveal things to them. And if you have a military child who's really struggling with a lot of issues, and I know my daughter was very similar in that every time my husband would deploy, which was about, every 2 months, she would become so emotional. She would start crying, like at school for seemingly no reason. Like she definitely needed support. So finding her a counselor who could help her, for the time that she needed, which was in her case was a year, having that same counselor was so important. So had we had to move during that time, would be very stressful on her. It would have been very stressful on me. Just to go somewhere new, if we moved, we would have to find a new house, a new school, finding a new counselor. Honestly, that would have been like 5th or 6th on the list. So if we had licensure portability, we would have been able, and we moved, we would have been able to continue that relationship with the same counselor. So that consistency is so key for military kids, especially when they are in a new place. They have to make new friends at school. They have to navigate a new neighborhood. If they can keep the same counselor through that time and get that consistency there and get that support, that is going to be huge as far as supporting their mental health.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, well, seeing none, we want to thank Dr. Cole for her time today and sharing her story and that wonderful message about how this can support military spouses. So thanks again.
Thank you all.